it unless you want to.
No, I got it. I wasn't sure if it was going to do it right away. Well, we had a good practice run. Now we're live on the new Occupy Best Ball channel. Chuck and Brian. Brian, how we doing?
What's up, man? We had a great practice run for about a minute there, and yeah, happy to join you. And we'll talk about the new best ball channel along the way, the giveaway that we're doing. But in the meantime, August is almost here, Chuck, which means it's prime drafting season. How you feeling?
I'm feeling pretty good. I was telling you before the show, I'm in so many slow drafts right now that it's been hard to find the courage to do a bunch of fast drafts like I was planning to. But once we get into August and the slow drafts wind down, I'm sure I'll be drafting 20, 30 a day. I still have most of my big buy in entries to go. 38 days left. So plan your drafts out. And hopefully, there's pretty good draft rooms coming up with this training camp news coming up, a lot of ADP movement.
Yeah, absolutely. 38 days left until the start of the season, but just 2 days left until NFL preseason DFS, which is partially the reason we've moved over to this new channel, get all the best ball content on one channel. And for those of you who are just into DFS, you can watch the videos on the primary channel. And yeah, dude, lots of movement in ADP, lots of news I know you want to discuss. And I even saw, I can't remember who tweeted it, but something about even wide receivers are starting to drop a little bit in ADP, which may be an indication that more casual drafters are starting to enter the lobbies, which is always a welcome sight.
Yeah, it's like it's very little changes, but it's basically across the board. There's like, I don't know, a spot and a half, two spots for a lot of these receivers going in maybe rounds 4 through 7, something like that. And the
Yep.
running backs just seem to be creeping up a little bit. So, are you going to start adjusting your draft strategy, or are you still just going to let the rooms come to you?
Just let the rooms come to me. I'm still mostly focusing on exposures and combinations and keeping with the same strategy as you and I have been talking all off season, and just incorporate the news a little bit more. And again, it's certainly a skill to have to be able to decipher which news we need to implement into our selections and which news we classify as noise. And it's it started already. It's like getting back on a bike, right? Because we only have this once a year, this 1 month cycle, and it's hard to at least the first couple of days, there's so much news flying at you. You have to remember what's real and what's not.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought that up because I think it's important to not overreact to certain camp news. We have to weigh it as it comes because it's the first few days, and especially the rookies are going to be down in depth charts. So I don't think we should be scared to draft them. Don't be like upset if you have a bag of them. Like take the new ADP value if they start falling. But some of the big fallers, I mean, it's the same guys that have been falling. Does anything new stand out here to you?
So these are the followers. So we got Kendra Miller. We have the hamstring injury, and of course, uh, the head coach's very unflattering comments about his roster security. So no reason to think this ADP change is wrong. But again, he's a guy that if he does stay healthy at some point, we might be okay draft him. CEH, we get the news with Deneric Prince was taking second team reps. Ricky Pearsall injured, but it sounds like he's going to be back, if not already back in limited fashion. Zay Jones was getting bumped by Michael Wilson in two wide receiver sets to start the camp. Javon Baker started the camp down low. Troy Franklin was the one I wanted to talk to you about. Obviously, a trusted beat reporter said that Marvin Mims is well ahead of Troy Franklin, but Chuck, that's an example of what you were talking about. We should expect Troy Franklin to be behind
Yeah.
Marvin Mims on the first day of camp.
Yeah, on this one specifically, I have been drafting Marvin Mims uh, more recently. He's the cover boy. I was kind of surprised you made him the cover boy. That was Brian's choice today. I love it though.
I
Uh,
just want I really that was just a this is a news related show, and Mims was in the news, so let's bring him up at least. Not necessarily saying we're going to draft him more, but just he is a person to note.
and so we're going to see the situation pop up a lot. And what I'm going to do is I'm just not going to draft Troy Franklin. I already have some Troy Franklin. I'm not upset about it. It could still turn out to be good at the end of the season. But react to the news in a smart way, I guess. And then from the risers, I mean, Audric Estime, J.K. Dobbins, Rashad Bateman. It's typical names here too. Does anything stand out here?
No, so Audric, we got the news that he's potentially battling for Javonte Williams, but this kind of similar vein, right? Like this is a beat reporter reporting, and I've seen multiple takes on Twitter about this. We're trying to predict who's going to be there at the end of the season, not necessarily the beginning. Audric certainly qualifies, um, but also there have been reports that the the demise of Javonte Williams is greatly exaggerated. So
Mhm.
we get J.K. Dobbins. Uh, the OC and the head coach said he's the lead back. Bateman's been doing great in camp. Chase Brown getting first team reps, a majority of first team reps over Zach Moss. That's a spot, Chuck. We like to target ambiguous backfields, especially on really good offenses. This could be a situation where we see the two running backs flip ADPs over the course of August.
Yeah, and it's a spot where I've been on Zach Moss over Chase Brown the whole offseason. And this is going to apply to a lot of other spots too, where I wouldn't mind Chase Brown flipping Zach Moss. I'm still going to draft him. And with Zach Moss specifically, he's one of the top pass protection running backs in the NFL, if I'm not mistaken, which is really important because they need to keep Joe Burrow healthy. And so that's my reasoning. But now we get the news that the coaching staff might prefer Chase Brown. So we have to weigh that as well.
Yeah, I mean, interesting list here. I haven't seen positive news on Tolbert, Dortch, and Gesicki. Have you seen anything on those guys specifically?
Dortch, I've only seen getting hyped up by like Twitter people. I don't even know if I've seen like a clip of him catching a ball though or anything. And Gesicki, I feel like I've heard negative news on him, but
yeah, I saw Dortch catch. It was kind of like a wheel route touchdown from Kyler Murray, playing through wide receiver sets. And he's a guy I've been drafted anyway, so we're always in for some positive confirmation bias here.
Well, right below him, his teammate Michael Wilson is the guy that I saw positive news on out of camp, and I guess he's a little more expensive than Dortch. Both these guys are basically late round picks, so I mean, past round 15, take whoever you want.
Yeah, exactly. I see Justin Fields up a couple spots too. I know he was getting some first team reps at least as of today when I saw over Russell Wilson. So I mean, that's you. I think you and I said this in May, right? If you have a 3 quarterback room or late quarterback, Fields is an auto click, and if we get him starting earlier than expected, then he would be almost a key to best ball drafts, I would think.
Yeah, and I've been drafting Justin Fields all offseason. I kind of stopped for a bit, but then so I believe he's getting first team reps because Russell Wilson is injured right now.
Yep.
Very minor injury, whatever. But like one of the Twitter doctors said, the risk of re-injury is moderate, and so it just I'm still drafting Justin Fields. Is the point?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, we can get a draft started here. We can keep talking about some more of these guys. Jalen McMillan, the guy you and I have talked about at end here. Glad to see him up a little bit. And Greg Dulcich, a round 18 tight end that I've been targeting and I have a good amount of exposure to. A positive note, which is all I could ask for out of a round 18 tight end.
Need 2 more to fill this room if the 2 viewers would like to join us. Where am I going? Over here. Yeah, Jalen McMillan I had a note about. He was returning punts in practice, not necessarily a bad thing. But did you know Sterling Shepard was on the Bucs?
I did not. There is, as we start preseason research, there are some guys I did not know were on teams. Sterling Shepard certainly is one of those guys I did not know.
Yeah, Mike Evans sat out practice today, I guess, and just a clip of Sterling Shepard catching a half-speed ball in a drill. Like, not a big deal, but just the fact that he's there could affect McMillan a little bit. And I don't know if it's bad that McMillan was returning kicks or punts or whatever it was in practice.
Yeah, hard to say, but he's on the field and they want to get him the ball. So we'll take again. We have exposure to him, so we'll take it as a positive. If we were fading him, we would say it's a negative.
It's funny. The player I saw, JJ McCarthy, it was almost back-to-back tweets. Otherwise, I would have screenshot it. But one of them was him throwing a beautiful deep ball, and another one is throwing like one of the worst passes I've seen all training camp. So,
just like the perfect dichotomy of training camp news.
Right. So we got the 10th pick. It's not great, but it's not the worst. Not that many badges in here, which is nice.
Yeah, I'm starting to see some drafts with less and less badges. And while we wait for this to fill, Chuck, usually we have people watch something like 90% of our viewers, at least on the primary channel for best ball drafts, watch after we go live. There is the benefit of obviously jumping in the room with us and drafting and having a good time. I know you guys last week, right, had a couple people draft live, which was always fun.
Yeah, it's always great when our members join us, or we've had randoms join us a couple times, just happen to see us live, and they happen to be in the same draft. So that's always fun.
It is.
Have you seen much news on any of the first round guys? I think Bijan is really the only one I have a note on.
No, I saw some. The thing I saw was Tyler Algier is in for a nice role. But like, what does that mean? I don't know what that means exactly. But clearly, he must be the greatest teammate and coach's player ever because 2 coaching staffs have identified that from him.
Yeah, like I expected him to still play every game that he's healthy, but it sounds like it might be closer to the snap share we saw last year, which would not be great for Bijan in the first round. I'm wondering if that news is enough to flip Brees back in front of Bijan again.
It's definitely possible. And again, this is like an offhanded coach's comment. Coaches are notoriously poor at anticipating snap and touch counts in August. So, it could just be a guy we have to give 5 to 7 touches a game and not, 10 to 12.
And it's I think his price is still fair, Algiers, though. I'm not really going to adjust my take on Bijan. It's just if Bijan's there first in ADP, I click him. If Brees is there first in ADP, I click him. I'm basically even on them both, indifferent. But Tyler Algier is still a really good price if he's going to have that standalone value that the coach is telling us he's going to have. And then if something happens to Bijan, he's going to be one of the top zero RB hits.
Yeah, one of the strategies that I like, and again, it's not necessarily something that has to happen, but if Bijan greatly outperforms Brees Hall or vice versa, there's a decent chance it's because of injury. And we might have talked about this on stream, but I really like the idea of pairing Bijan with Braylon Allen and or
Mm-hmm.
pairing Brees Hall with Tyler Algier, just kind of double dipping on the fact that you're choosing the right running back in that middle of the first round.
No, I agree, and I like that strategy too. Would you ever take Algier on Bijan teams or Braylon Allen on Brees teams?
I think you should in some cases. Obviously, we don't like to do that, but if there's a scenario where they just get hurt for 1 or 2 weeks in an important stretch of the best ball season, that's a very unique build. So we don't like handcuffing generally, but I think it makes some sense in contests where uniqueness is required.
Yeah, I think when you're strong enough at running back, it's much better to do when you're strong at running back, I should say, because you might not need that sixth spot, but
Yep.
if you get that spike guy out of it and don't lose the roster spot, I guess, then that would be pretty good. So I had a note on Garrett Wilson too. Apparently, him and Aaron Rodgers are getting into it on multiple days at training camp. Is there anything to read from that?
Yeah, Aaron Rodgers is trying to let him in on all the conspiracy theories, and Garrett Wilson is not having any of it. That's the only takeaway I could possibly think of.
It's like Garrett Wilson was down at first until he saw how far the rabbit hole went, and he said, "I'm out."
He said, "Bro, where's Zach Wilson? Bring him back."
So I did take Puka over Garrett Wilson. I mean, again, just pretty much going by ADP in the first round. I'm going to take Debo here at 15th overall. Don't have any Puka Debo stacks. It's week 15 game, not that significant, but they do play each other twice. So
Yep, we'll always take that. And so for those of you who are watching, whether live or on replay, I mentioned it. We mentioned it on Twitter. We mentioned it in Discord. We mentioned it on the primary channels post that the first 500 subscribers on this new channel will be entered into a giveaway. We haven't finalized the details yet, but if you are watching this live or on replay, go ahead and click that subscribe button. We're trying to get this secondary channel up to 500 subscribers. It's a best ball focused only. And if you are watching this for the first time, you don't even know who we are. We appreciate you tuning in. Go ahead, if you play DFS, check out our primary channel at Occupy Fantasy or OccupyFantasy.com. This channel specifically for best ball content. Chuck, we got some feedback that some people only like DFS, some people only like best ball. We just did the most natural thing we could think of. We just made a second channel. That way, people who enjoy one or the other don't have to get flooded with notifications from content that they don't like.
Oh yeah, I think it's a great idea. I love it, and best ball is only going to continue to grow, so we'll be here for as long as best ball is.
Yeah, exactly. So, how many drafts? you said before we went live, you're in like a billion slow drafts. What's the number right now?
Slow drafts, I think 26 plus 70, like 150 between all the sites. Yeah, it's not great.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I think it's affecting
so
how much I'm doing fast drafts too. I don't feel like doing fast drafts anymore because I'm making picks all day anyway.
How could you want to do a fast draft? Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
viewers just understand the sacrifice that Chuck is making drafting live here fast when he has 150 slow drafts waiting in queue behind the screen.
This is the third day in a row I've done a Best Ball Mania, and I hadn't done a Best Ball Mania. I think I did 2 total in July before the last 3 days, so we're catching up.
Okay. Do you have a number in mind of how many you want to do?
Well, originally I thought I was going to max it, and then I lowered it to 100, and now my goal is 60. And so I'm going to get to 60 for sure. I'll probably get more than 60. Don't think I'll get more than 100. I'm at 27 or 28 right now, so.
And we think this won't overlay, right? Unlike DraftKings or Drafters.
I don't think this one's going to overlay. No, like last year, I want to say it filled the day before the season because I was in one of the very last draft rooms. It might have even been the day of the season, but I mean, looking at the fill rate, 52%, this contest has been open for a while. You would think it overlays, but they're going to have an influx of drafters coming in August. And I'm sure a lot of people like me and you are saving their entries for training camp news.
Yep, that is exactly right. Yeah, 50%.
Let's see. We're coming up on DJ Moore. DJ Moore has he got paid today, 4 years, 110 million,
Yep.
the third highest guaranteed money for a wide receiver in the NFL. Uh, I don't think this affects anything that we're doing. We already knew he was the man, and Chicago liked him there. I'm still going to be drafting him as much as I have been.
Yeah, I mean, I guess ADP dictates this as well. But if Rome Odunze is going to overtake one of these guys in two wide receiver sets for the second half of the season, that contract extension, which again may have been a given, it seems more likely that it'll be Keenan Allen and not DJ Moore that gets overtaken by Rome Odunze, or they just run a shit ton of three wide receiver sets anyways.
And like, I'm not sure how good Caleb Williams is. Everyone's telling me he's good, so I have to believe him. It like I didn't think Justin Fields was awful. Maybe the stats say otherwise, but he can't be a worse passer than Justin Fields was last season. And DJ Moore balled out. And granted, there's more weapons. It doesn't matter. And there was a note about a connection Caleb Williams has with Roma Dunze in multiple days in practice so far too.
Yeah, we are noting that for these guys won't play in the Hall of Fame game on Thursday, but we are noting that connection for future preseason slates, but also Week 1, of course. And yeah, even if Caleb Williams' rookie year is on par with Justin Fields' efficiency, no one's saying that will be the case, but he won't take off and scramble as often as Justin Fields did, which just gives a higher floor to the receivers in general. So they have that going for them, and then any upside or any efficiency beyond that is just a plus.
And I'm still in on Keenan Allen too. I have been off of Dunze, but he's getting kind of cheap now, so I'm gonna start mixing him in more.
Yeah, I think you have to. John Cotter's in the chat. What's up, John? Appreciate you joining the secondary channel here at Occupy Fantasy, Occupy Best Ball. It says non-fantasy news, but Caleb has to be walking into the best situation ever. I don't want to be clouded by a recency bias here, Chuck, but it is a damn good situation. It's hard to argue that it's near the top, if not the top.
Yeah, it feels like a lot of pressure on him because the baseline is being a top 10 quarterback. Like that's what everyone's expecting the floor to be. So I hope he's good. Rooting for him.
Yeah, it's definitely a catch-22, right? Like you go into a worse team, worse situation, the expectations are lowered.
Mm-hmm.
But you have the target on you at all times when you're the number one pick. So if I was him, a competitor, I get 3 of the best weapons possible. Give me that situation over something else any day of the week.
Absolutely. Kind of like I've been trying to target more of these elite quarterbacks in this range with or without the pass catchers. I'd love it if I could pass and take a quarterback in the next round, but I don't think I can. I might just go Amari Cooper here.
Naturally, a Chuck draft with Amari Cooper. No surprise there.
Yeah, it's like I think my top 4 receivers, 2 of them are Brandon Ayuk and Amari Cooper, and that can't be great. Being like that means I'm fading these other guys, and
you had a whole month to balance that out a little bit.
I mean, am I going to though?
No, of course not. But still, in theory, you could.
So one of the reasons I took Amari Cooper, like taking any receiver here, regardless if it's Amari Cooper, but I'm starting late in the draft. I don't have one of the top 5 receivers. I feel like I'm probably going to be behind. I can catch up this way if I hit on a late quarterback and probably have to punt tight end and hit on a late tight end too. I'll start taking running backs pretty soon here, but just got to play it a little bit differently given our pick number. And especially these guys took 2 running backs each, which is odd.
Yeah, go ahead. There's more receivers for you. So that is a nice way to think about it. And I do want to talk about Malik Neighbors, who I saw went in the 3rd round. We didn't have any camp news on him, but I mean, every item, every video I've seen is he's living up to everything plus more. And I know people may be scared away from Daniel Jones, the passer, but we've seen rookie seasons come from inefficient quarterbacks all the time. So Neighbors, that round 3 could look like a bargain by the end of the year.
Yeah, no, definitely. This is a big boomer bust guy. Could smash or he could not. I mean, what's the likelihood of him going lower in ADP next season?
That's a good question. I'm trying to think of a comparable, and I don't have any off the top of my head. I was not prepared despite bringing up Malik Neighbors. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it seems likely that he's higher than lower next year.
I think so. Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah.
There's a stat about Daniel Jones that he's never supported it's got to be 100 catch receiver. Evan Engram had 107 catches one season with Daniel Jones, but there's never been a wide receiver that had 100 catches, which, it's first time for everything. There was a note that Drew Lock should get, one of the beats said this, Drew Lock should get first team reps at training camp if Daniel Jones keeps struggling.
I mean, that would be great from a league neighbors outlook. And again, whether or not what you think of Drew Lock compared to Daniel Jones is an entirely different conversation. But it goes to running quarterbacks versus non-running quarterbacks and the pass attempt floor that is raised when that switch is made.
See what we got here. Mahomes is coming up in ADP a lot. I remember being able to grab him in the mid to late 50s a month and a half ago, maybe. Now he's coming up, and so are his receivers. Rashi Rice, we talk about him every show, but we have to. He's moving pretty quick, and it doesn't look like he's getting suspended.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how I feel anyway.
Every day that passes is another day that he's likely to be on the field week 1. So, yeah, I mean, it could be one of those situations that it's settled after the season. And yeah, I saw Mahomes on the ADP risers chart you put up, which again, for those who don't know, new viewers or returning viewers who just may have forgotten, the stack secret at OccupyFantasy.com shows week 15, 16, 17 stacks for all ADPs. And then our ADP movers chart shows guys ADP that have moved up or down in the last 7 days. And Mahomes is on that list, up 3 spots. So solidifies what you were saying about Mahomes going a little bit earlier.
And like, that's significant. 3 spots for a guy in the 4th round in a week.
Yeah, with no significant news. I think it's just people are like, wait, he might actually have some receivers this year.
Yeah, and so Rashi Rice was going around the 2-3 turn in the big board. This was before Marquise Brown, before Xavier Worthy were on the team. Let's say he's not suspended. What's the appropriate price for him? Like he went ahead of Marquise Brown right here, and I've seen this happen a lot recently. And then Xavier Worthy is just falling pretty far too.
Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, we don't know how this is going to play out. Obviously, Rashi Rice was the guy there last year. It can be difficult for new receivers to come into this situation. Worthy has speed that Mahomes hasn't had since Tyreek Hill, basically. So, and yeah, Hollywood Brown goes 2 picks after him. Yeah, I don't mind. I think you just got to get exposure to all these guys. Mahomes can support a massive, massive receiving season.
Mm-hmm.
Which one it's going to be is really difficult to tell, and that kind of shows by their jumbled ADP.
Yeah, and I've been taking Marquise, and I was slamming Rashi Rice, but now I'm wondering if his price is getting closer to appropriate. He's still underpriced if he's not suspended at all, but it's getting to the point where it says not as much of a value. And
yeah,
I'm gonna take Jaden
Reed.
Yeah. Go ahead.
No, go for
it. Just moving on to the Packers. So Jaden Reed played 2 total snaps and 2 wide receiver sets last season, and he's already getting reps in 2 wide receiver sets with the ones this year. Romeo Dubes was on the other side of that. And so I think people were getting a little bearish on Jaden Reed. I'm back in all the way.
All right, sweet. Yeah, I mean, all it takes is one little note like that, because that adds a couple extra snaps, a couple extra routes every game. And but to that point, though, all the reports I've seen, again, I haven't dug too deep into Green Bay. I'll be neck deep in Green Bay news once their preseason games begin next week. But everything I've seen is all 4 of their top receivers have been playing well. That includes Wicks, it includes Christian Watson, which is another reason these are guys we should be targeting in our draft at all different ranges.
Yeah, I got talked into Wicks too. Someone said he could be Devontae Adams. I'm like, he could be Devontae Adams.
Why not? I mean, he honestly, just watching him, if you took the name off the back of the jersey, you watched him, you would think he's around 1 or 2 pick based on how he played last year, like NFL draft pick.
Yeah, I don't think I knew he was a rookie until kind of recently.
Well, that's okay.
Can't hit every player.
Let's see here. Do you have a lot of Christian Watson? I'm looking at your exposures right now. Is that 18% you have or 10%? What is that?
10% Christian Watson. Yeah, this first number here is how much I have. I think that's overall, though, in all, not just Best Ball Mania, just all the ones without ranking.
Okay.
I don't love James Cook, but I would like to get a running back here, and he's a little past ADP.
Yeah, I don't mind him around 6. I mean, we saw him earlier in the offseason around 4 sometimes, so I don't mind him around 6.
And like, this is not a bad collection of receivers here, though, to catch up if you need like a wide. Like, I have 5 receivers, so I don't need my wide receiver 6 being Chris Godwin or Roma Dunze or even Christian Watson, Deontay Johnson. But I think these guys are all pretty draftable.
Yeah, and speaking of James Cook, we talk about notes and what to digest and what not to. I think it was the offensive coordinator, maybe it was the head coach. I saw just a quick clip today that Ray Davis, who's a rookie running back we've been drafting for Buffalo, I think has been dealing with some fumbling issues, has been
Hmm.
battling with Ty Johnson for the number 2 spot. Again, we're trying to predict who's going to be there at the end of the season. It's much more likely to be Ray Davis than veteran Ty Johnson. But that solidifies James Cook a little bit. And I think even the OC was talking about James Cook's goal line role, which obviously is just any icing on the cake at his ADP. So I'll take the ADP drop given some of the news that has developed here in the first week of the offseason. Of the
The
training camp.
ADP drop on James Cook or Ray Davis?
On James Cook, but also Ray Davis. I'll take that later too.
Okay.
Still a guy that fits the profile we're looking for, a young rookie running back on a good offense.
Yeah, so this is back to what we were saying, how to interpret certain news. Like, we went through my big board exposures one day, and I think Ty Johnson was one of the guys I had like 10% of a running back, which
Oh,
isn't a big deal. But I was like, dude, that seems absurd. And now I feel better about it. I'm not going to go back to drafting Ty Johnson, but I'm not upset that I have him in my other teams.
that's incredible foresight or luck, one
Uh,
of the two. I'm not sure. I'm not gonna. I don't want to crown you, but that's to Ty Johnson. I guess he was running back to pre-draft, right?
Yeah, and to
Okay,
close the season, he got some work. So I
he did.
thought
Yeah,
I was hoping he would be the RB2, but it might be like a Jaleel McLaughlin situation where Jaleel is probably never going to take over the bulk of the work,
correct.
but he has pretty good value mixing in some snaps.
And Ty Johnson, infamous Maryland Terrapin. So we got to shout him out when we have a chance.
Nice. Let's see in this range. So CJ Stroud, where did CJ Stroud go? He's still on the board. He's falling pretty hard. Chris posted a team he's in on Houston.
Yeah.
Houston stacks more specifically, but yeah, is this a more appropriate price for CJ Stroud? And I was wondering how you would compare him to Jordan Love.
It's funny you say that. I almost made that comparison, whether it was in our staff chat or it was in Discord. It's like, yeah, he's probably should be neck and neck with Jordan Love,
Mhm.
considering lack of rushing ability, weapons. He probably has a higher individual skill set of weapons, but maybe not. I mean, Green Bay, like we just said, can go 4 or 5 deep at receiver. Houston can go right there as well. Um, but yeah, he's now dropping to the 7th round in some drafts, and if you can stack him up, it's probably some stacks that I will be trying to acquire here over the next couple of weeks. But I do agree it's much more palatable than what we saw him earlier in the offseason, round 5, round 6, even, right?
Yeah, and you can see I only have 4%, and I'm sure half of that's from the last couple of weeks. But I'm definitely before I was only drafting him if I had 2 Houston receivers, but now,
I'll tell you,
but
I'm very similar. I have 70 drafts so far. I have Stroud in 2.9%. So it's just, there's so many other guys in that range that I want to get. I'd rather either just pay up a little more for a mobile elite quarterback or go a little bit later and get Jordan Love or similar guys with similar upsides.
yeah, because to me it's like there's a lot of guys like Jordan Love. Even 2 rounds later is to me the same player for the regular season. It just if CJ Stroud puts up 35 in week 7, yeah, he's probably the winning quarterback. But
That was literally the thought that went through my head today. It's like he can not meet ADP value, but if he's the guy that
yeah,
puts up 5 touchdown games like he has, then I'm drawing dead in the all important weeks. And so that alone has prompted me to maybe get a few more, even if I'm just 4%, 5%, whatever it is. I don't have to get all the way up to 8%, but yeah, that is something that crossed my mind.
because someone posted a question on Twitter. It's kind of an interesting one. If you knew that a player was going to score 0 points in the regular season but score 50 in week 17, where should he get drafted?
I saw that too, and I was thinking about it, and I saw some people in the comments say 1-1. Some people say round 2. I don't know the answer because I think actually the best answer was I already have 13% of Amari Cooper, so I don't need another one.
I love it. I love it.
Where would you take him? If 50 points week 17, 0 the rest of the way.
I think I would want as much as possible. I'd take him 1-1.
And the nice thing is, right, in this obviously extreme hypothetical scenario, you know the outcome ahead of time, so you can build the rest of your team around that.
Yep. And it's just like my advance rate's definitely going to be lower because I have no first round pick for the regular season. But it just if I
Yeah.
get any team to the finals, it's
Yeah.
I mean it's good.
Jalen Warren auto click in this range when you go 0 or hero running back, so love that as well.
Really wanted James Conner, but Rusty Maverick took him from me.
That's all right. You already have 50% James Conner. You could use a little more exposure to other guys, right?
I could, yeah. James Conner's been rising though.
Has he? I actually haven't seen that.
Yeah, I think maybe not like a dramatic rise, but my average ADP value on him is lower than what his ADP goes at, which, as much as I have, should not be the case. So,
Yeah, seriously. Wow. Okay.
and I went with Raheem Mostert here. We're correlation bros, me and
Yeah,
Brian. So, we got 3 full weeks correlation.
absolutely.
He only led the league in touchdowns scored last year.
We'll take that every single time in this range for zero running back, obviously. And James Conner, I'm wondering if that ADP slight bump is because of the lack of positive news on rookie Trey Benson. He was battling with Michael Carter and even Amari DiMercado, who we saw at
Mm-hmm.
times last year. So it's one of those things where it's a bump, not necessarily because of positive news, but negative news on his teammates.
Yeah. So my thinking is that new, because I feel like he was already rising in ADP before that came out, and I feel like it's just going to make his ADP rise even more. I wouldn't be surprised if James Conner's, he went at what, pick 80 here. I mean, he'll be in the 7th round or 7th round. Could be in the 6th round by the time the season starts. It's just, if he doesn't get hurt, he is the best value running back here. Maybe Raheem Mostert, but
For
uh,
sure.
he's like just one of the highest ceilings. And then jumping to Trey Benson, who I have not been drafting. I think Chris is on Trey Benson, but I just see him as an expensive handcuff who will have that value if James Conner goes down. And hopefully this news makes Trey Benson fall so I can start hedging a little bit.
I mean, that is nice, right? The guys we haven't been on, if we get some negative news, you can continue to fade them if you want,
Mm-hmm.
or if you just want to get some exposure, it's nice. And like Troy Franklin's a guy that I've been drafting, but if he falls around 17, round 18, I'll still be drafting him. He's a guy whose player profile I liked, the situation I liked, and sometimes you'll just take a little extra at a cheaper cost.
Well, how long did it take for us to get news about Tank Dell last season? Because I'm thinking it's a similar situation. I don't know if the talent is similar, but college quarterback with his receiver, they're best friends.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny you say that because it's a great segue into preseason on Thursday. Houston is playing, and Tank Dell started to rise once he played 30 plus snaps in week 1 of the preseason, scored the touchdown, looked great doing it, started to get more reps, and then he sat out a week where starters sat out, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. And everyone's like, oh shit, maybe he's included in that group, or maybe he's higher than we thought. And then we saw his ADP really jump. If I'm not playing revisionist history here, that's what it sounded. I think that's what happened.
And it's almost certainly going to happen with someone, whether it turns out to be like,
Yep.
it's unlikely they're going to be as good as Tank Dell was in his rookie year, but they don't quite have to be to pay off at whatever we draft them at.
Yeah, but you're exactly right. And even if you don't play preseason DFS, which we encourage you to do, and check out our main channel for that information. We'll have the video on Thursday. But you can read between the lines, or sometimes they'll just flat out tell you rookies or younger guys that we like, or we've been drafting, or we're thinking about drafting. When they sit out, when other important players sit out,
Mm-hmm.
or they're playing when other important players are not playing, that can tell you a lot about what the coaching staff thinks of them and their role for the upcoming season, especially early on. And that can really dictate when and how we should be drafting them.
Absolutely. And, that's like all these things we're talking about. That's why we're waiting to draft our team so we can make better decisions and just have less chance of a dead roster spot.
Exactly. And like Adunze's another guy. Chicago plays on Thursday. They've already said they will not play their starters. We've seen Adunze catch touchdowns consecutive days in practice from Caleb Williams. If Odunze sits out on Thursday, that should let us know that, hey, he's counted as a starter, right? He doesn't, and we're expecting this anyways, given his ADP. But just if he sits and doesn't play, they're like, he's ready. We could roll regular season week 1 with him right now if we wanted to.
Who's in this range? I think Zach Moss just went off the board.
Which should be your new trigger to draft Chase Brown.
With what's that?
Once Zach Moss leaves now, given the news, that's when you should draft Chase Brown before the ADPs flip.
You're right. Yeah. I can't do it.
Okay. We could do it in round 10 on the comeback here.
It feels kind of expensive for Brian Robinson. I do like him. At least I have some correlation with Green Bay with Rashid Shaheed, and I think we still like Rashid Shaheed.
Of course, we always love Rashid Shaheed.
He's getting expensive though. This dude was like ADP 125, so it's definitely coming up.
Yeah, I'm not the biggest fan at the current ADP. I would much prefer them a little cheaper.
Yeah, I haven't been taking too. Well, I was going to take Brian Robinson, but I have 3 starting running back. Well, I don't know if Jalen Warren's a starting running back, but I have 2 starting running backs. Brock Purdy, another running back. Jacoby.
Yeah, what are you thinking? I was just going to ask you about quarterback situation. What are you thinking here for quarterback construction?
It's got to be like I'm gonna have Matt Stafford on. I mean, I could just punt again and go Matt Stafford, Deshaun Watson. I could take Purdy now. I could try and push Purdy,
True.
but he's already at ADP. I'm gonna take Brian Robinson actually a little
Okay.
bit. I was thinking about him on my last pick, and oh, I don't know what happened there. I've been pushing quarterbacks recently, and it's been paying off more than it doesn't. So, or I should say, it's been paying off enough.
Yeah, no. Sometimes we need that reinforcement. Yeah, I've been waiting on quarterbacks too, and it's like, well, if you're gonna keep giving it to me around later than I was initially even planning on drafting them, I guess I'll keep doing it.
Yeah, because there's times where I'll have like Josh Allen, and then the top of ADP is 5 quarterbacks. Brock Purdy's 2 rounds past ADP, and it's like I can't even take advantage of this.
Right. Right. Exactly. By the way, for those who may have got a quick glimpse of how many slow draft Chucks are in, Chuck is in on screen there as he navigated back to this draft.
Yeah, it's I mean, I'm on the clock in like 10 right now. I couldn't even be bothered to knock him out before the stream started. And then it's not too bad. It's mostly weekly winners. I like sitting down and working out the combos.
Okay. All right. How many weekly winners drafts are you doing or planning on doing?
I'm gonna max it out.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the one contest on Underdog I know I'm maxing out. So I think the edge is gigantic. And realize when I say that the chances of winning are so small. If
Sure.
my chances of coming first in any week are 0.001 with my edge, and this would be extreme, like 0.005,
Right.
right? Like the chance of winning are still tiny, but I think the field is wrong.
Okay.
And we'll
Well,
get a
if the field's
weekly winner
wrong, we
show
will
in.
for sure. We're going to be doing 4 shows per week leading up through the regular season, so plenty of time to talk about any contest you guys want. So if you're watching this live or again after the fact, go ahead and drop a comment on which contest you would like to see us draft. And on that note, when we do this giveaway, it will require not only subscribing to the channel, but also some sort of comment on our videos. So go ahead and get that out of the way if you want to drop a comment now to be entered in that giveaway.
Yeah, let us know. Probably be back with another stream tomorrow. If someone wants us to draft one of the like other structures, not BBM, let us know. We're always happy to mix it up.
Yeah, I mean, I really do enjoy when we do the streams or when we have done the streams of the 3 maxes, 5 maxes, single entries, just in the strategy changes that dictates. So I'm sure other people enjoy that as well, especially for the average person who isn't max entering BBM or any of the puppies or anything. The average person is entering a handful of lineups or a handful of drafts. So it's probably more actionable for those folks.
Yeah, and I mean, my first year playing best ball, I don't think I got more than 30 drafts in. And then next season, I got 200. Last season, I had 6, and this season, going nuts. But I only drafted a few in my first year.
What would be a good year for you? Number of football drafts? What, 1,000? Is that too many? Is that not enough?
Including the slow drafts, I'm in 870, or I've done. So I guess I have like 700 plus fasts. With the contest out, I imagine there will be one more puppy, so this will go up. But I have 350 drafts left. That comes out to what, 1,200 total?
Yeah.
About.
All right. So no big deal. You guys, new viewers, maybe wondering why should we listen to these guys? Well, at least one of us is drafting 1,200 teams in football this year, and that is the definition of putting your money where your mouth is.
And like I say a lot of things on these show. I probably have a take on every single player by the end of the summer, and I'm wrong on a lot of stuff, but I'm also right on a bunch of stuff. And so hopefully we just get lucky again.
I mean, we talked about it last year, right? Like, or not last year, but early this offseason. You can be wrong on 6 of your 7 top exposures,
Mm-hmm.
but being right on one is enough to push you into the finals, push you higher in the finals. We see consistently year after year, even the highest performing best ball teams in the finals miss out on a ton of their top exposures. So don't be afraid to take those risks.
Yep, and I did that last year, and I still crushed,
Yeah,
which has led me to flattening my exposures pretty considerably this year.
it does seem like the way to go. And for those who missed it, Chuck finished top 30 in BBM, somewhere around there, and top 20 in the DraftKings final. Are those numbers right?
BBM was like 92nd or
Okay.
96, which modest Brian, he co-drafted that team with me on the stream. And then in DraftKings, I finished like 32nd out of 1,000,000 or something.
Yeah, it's pretty sweet.
It was very fun. I mean, it was stressful, but it was so fun at the end of the day when it's like, all right, money's in your account.
I mean, ultimately, that day is what you're drafting for. So
yeah. So I've been trying to not do this as much where I have 7 receivers and I'm just done at receiver at, pick 130 because there's guys I still want to take shots on later, but I don't know. I could have taken Charbonnet, I guess. Uh,
Big Charbonnet proponent over here, but uh, he didn't pan out last year, so it's very possible he doesn't pan out this year either. But so no hard feelings if you don't take him.
well, the thing is, like, part of the reason he didn't pan out is because Kenneth Walker stayed healthy the whole season, right?
Yep, exactly. And now we got the new coaching staff. There's a real possibility that workload is tighter, and maybe it's wishful thinking, but again, the contingent upside there in a Walker injury.
All right, I guess I'm punting quarterback.
So will you take 3 in this instance, or just 2 still?
I'm definitely going to take 3 quarterbacks now. Yeah. So Matt Stafford goes a little bit before my next pick. I'm going to hope he just falls a couple picks, and then
Okay.
Deshaun should be there either way. All else fails, Derek Carr and Justin Fields are always there if I take them a round early.
This is a Fields team right here.
Oh yeah, big Fields team.
Let me ask you this: what are the 2 worst quarterbacks you would be comfortable with as having only 2 quarterbacks on your draft? I guess I'll say this: which second quarterback is the worst quarterback you would consider having as your number 2 in only a 2 quarterback room?
Well, I did a draft with maybe Derek last week where I had Matt Stafford and Drake May, and I didn't realize how weak my quarterback room was until after the draft. And so that's uncomfortable.
Okay.
If I have an elite quarterback, then I'm perfectly fine with Derek Carr as my second quarterback, even like Bo Nix or one of the rookies. If I have I don't know, let's say Anthony Richardson's my first quarterback, I probably want minimum Geno Smith or Baker as my second QB. Like Anthony Richardson's special because he has the injury risk, I think, a little bit higher.
Sure. Yeah, and I agree. Like I've had many teams where it's like Josh Allen and Bo Nix, or Lamar Jackson and Bo Nix, or um, I mean, Bo Nix is so easy to stack late, as we've talked about many times.
Yeah.
I mean, Will Levis is the easy guy for me in that range. I've got a ton of him, ton of Tennessee. Should be pass heavier. Will Levis quarterback 2 and 2 quarterback rooms easy for me. That's where I draw the line.
Yeah, because it's like, why do we need a backup quarterback if we have one of the studs?
Yeah, I mean, exactly. Yeah, exactly. And Chris in the chat says the worst quarterback to Chuck is willing to draft is Gardner Minshew.
Dude, I'm off him. It's unfortunate. The odds flipped, dude. I was wrong. AOC is the man now. Him and Devontae have a connection. I'm pretty sure he's the favorite to start by Vegas odds now.
AOC is?
Yeah, I think it flipped. All of them flipped,
Okay.
though. Minnesota, JJ McCarthy wasn't going to start. Bo Nix is going to start, according to Vegas. And then Drake May is not going to start.
Yeah, Brissett apparently is just. I mean, Brissett is a fantastic practice player, so it's no shock that
Yeah.
he's leading that charge. We've seen this basically every offseason for like 10 years since Brissett has been in the league. So, for that record, Chuck, I still wouldn't let that scare people away from drafting Drake May as a number 2 or number 3 quarterback, because we see the rushing outside with him. We've seen guys like this in the past. He's a great late round quarterback pick, even if he doesn't start a few games.
Yeah, back to other stuff. As long as he's playing week 17, it's all that matters. And like I was off of Drake May for a lot of the offseason, and I've only recently been in on him, even with this Jacoby Brissett probably starting the season news.
I mean, basically last round of the draft, essentially, you can get Drake May maybe second to last round. And yeah, we're looking for upside at quarterback when we're drafting late, and rookies unknown upside certainly qualifies.
And I want to clarify, I'm not in on Drake May, but I'm not out. Like
yeah, certainly. That is a distinction. So, yeah.
Well, Matt Stafford did not work. This guy just loaded up. Does he at least? Okay.
Well, we're going super punt quarterback now. All right.
Yeah. So talk about the rooms we get in. Like we want those teams. It's annoying he took Matt Stafford. Oh my gosh, and Deshaun Watson. So this is annoying.
This is fun now.
Yeah, we want guys doing this because their advance rates are going to be considerably lower.
Yeah.
I mean, do I take Aaron Rodgers and backstack him?
It's possible. Who else? Just click. I think I'm a few seconds behind you, so you go ahead and make
Aaron Rodgers, Geno, Baker.
I mean, I'm a Geno guy through and through, even unstocked. So you can get him with Noah Fan if you want.
All right, who's the worst quarterback you're comfortable as your QB1?
Geno for sure.
Yeah, there you go. Mine's still Baker, but similar.
Okay. I mean, if we're going really crazy, it is Will Levis. So, I mean, because you punted tight end here, so you could go Geno Fant, you can go Baker Otten, you can go Rogers Conklin. I like Levis and Okonkwo as well. So that is one nice thing about the double punt strategy. With some of these guys, you can stack the quarterback and tight end late at some correlation.
And he's first in ADP, but we do have some Buffalo correlation with James Cook week 17. We have the Rams correlation. And I
Oh
have
yeah,
8 game stacks with Aaron Rodgers throughout the season. That's what this number is, which is all things to draft Aaron Rodgers.
Aaron Rodgers is not going to play in the preseason, not that he needs to, but we saw that news item today, and he'll get enough reps with Garrett Wilson, enough arguments with Garrett Wilson here over the coming weeks in practice. So
Chris said Drake May KJ Osborne stacks print.
yeah, Osborne. Speaking of hot camp starts, Osborne apparently has been the best receiver so far in camp. So, but I mean, they literally have like 12 guys that could be legitimate receivers.
I swear I have double digits of Osborne on the other sites, but I only have 2% here. It's kind of unfortunate. I thought I had more.
You can still draft him if you want.
I mean, he's not going to move up. He's still going to be in the 18th round. He's like late 18th round to early 18th round.
Yeah. He popped up on screen, so it reminded me. Josh Reynolds, he's a guy that I've taken a couple shots on round 18, veteran receiver. Speaking of the Troy Franklin, Marvin Mims situation, included in that conversation was Josh Reynolds likely being a top 3 receiver on that team, at least to start. So I think there are definitely worse round 18 picks at receiver.
Does it feel like he's a safer guy to contribute some points over the other two?
Absolutely. I mean, and those are like when you're a little light on receiver and you're taking a round 18 receiver, you're probably hoping for more chances to contribute a few points than rather than a bunch of zeros that maybe they hit at some point. And Reynolds is a guy that fits that first category where he's likely to contribute some in a weak wide receiver room compared to, especially if you have like other boom bust guys on the roster. It's really, we've talked about before, Chuck, where you're differentiating the profiles of receivers or running backs in your room. So I think Reynolds is a veteran guy who could contribute some points. Yes.
Yeah, and back to Marvin Mims, like that's the wide receiver 2 and wide receiver 3. I'm pretty sure in whatever order it ends up being. I'm convinced Mims is the number 2 now, but even Josh Reynolds, wide receiver 3, has some value.
Right, and even so, by the way, this goes for your late quarterback, tight end, punt. You can go Bo Nix, Greg Dulcich, Franklin, Mims, or Reynolds, and you have a 3-man Denver stack late in the draft. So,
I don't think I had anything else on Denver. We already talked about the running backs. Roman Wilson goes in this range. He was carted off with an ankle injury. Doesn't seem too serious, but a beat speculated Calvin Austin could be the wide receiver 2. We've mentioned that on the show before. Probably want more clarification on that before we start really taking shots.
definitely. I mean, Roman Wilson was a guy I was pretty high on, just like an unclear wide receiver 2 situation. Apparently, he's been tearing up camp. Got hurt on it sounded like a reverse or something, and the imaging, at least the images, you play this game long enough, you start to recognize injuries. Sound like a high ankle sprain from the images. So not great, but at least he's not a running back, and at least it's as early as possible in camp. I'm hoping to draft his ADP a little bit because I do like Roman Wilson a lot in this range.
Yeah, he feels like, the opposite of what we were just talking about with Josh Reynolds. He could, like, he's going to have 0 or he's going to put up a big game.
Yep, exactly. So this is Mims over Franklin, right? This is starting to happen. Yeah, I see Mims here, and Franklin has not yet been drafted, right?
Yeah, Franklin just went 4 picks after Mims. So.
Oh, I see him. Yeah, I am 30 seconds behind here. Okay, interesting.
Malik, it's like this is a problem with drafting 7 receivers early. Not that I'm super high on Malachi Corley. I can still take a Conklin, but
yeah, like, do you prefer just to take Conklin here instead?
I would have if he was on the board.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, it kind of feels like a disaster now if I can't get Conklin. All right, well, I'm gonna take Cade Otton, but I can't take Baker because we're shooting for Justin Fields, right?
Yeah, Fields, or I mean, there are other guys. You could go.
Take Cade Otton right now.
Okay.
So Cade Otton led the NFL in snap share last year, like 97%. And if you look at like the list, I forgot what the stat was. It had to be maybe targets per route run, yards. It had to be targets per route run. He was at the bottom left where it's like,
yeah,
it's just everything's terrible.
Yeah.
But he's on the field the entire game.
Yeah, I mean, you got to be on the field to score points. And, younger tight end, it takes tight ends a couple of years typically. And again, I'd rather have a guy who's going to be on the field than someone who may not be on the field.
Yeah. And so,
And again, so he's a guy, we're talking about mixing profiles here. He's a guy that's going to be on the field a lot, probably low floor. You can mix in a Likely, you can mix in a Dulcich to counteract the safety risk reward upside.
I was going to consider taking Likely. Yeah, I was going to consider taking Likely, especially with the correlation. But I want a 6 running back, and this is kind of the last one I want. I was looking at if Estime was still there, I'd probably push it. But
you could do Braylon Allen. You get quarterback running back correlation with Aaron Rodgers.
I could do Bray. I could have done Braylon Allen. Yeah, that actually probably would have been the best thing to do.
I should have told you 30 seconds earlier. That's my bad.
Well, I mean, it's highlighted in gold on my screen. So if I didn't, if I'm not going to, I don't know. I do that even in slow drafts. I have an hour to make my pick, and I'll pick and immediately see something else on the screen. Yeah, Braylon Allen would have been the pick here.
Yeah. All right. Well, I mean, you're drafting 1,200 drafts. You're bound to make one oversight.
Yeah, it's not a problem. This is Braylon Allen's not playing in the playoffs anyway.
We hope not. If you're a Brees fan,
which I am.
But yeah, I mean, we talk about punting tight end. Likely is if you wait until like round 15 and you're drafting 3 tight ends, you almost have to include Likely in that mix. If Andrews goes down, you automatically have a tight end 1 basically, and that immediately just rectifies you punting tight end. So I do everything in my power when I can. When I punt tight end, I go 3 late. I really, really try to get Likely on all those teams.
I asked Chris this on the last stream, and he said he wanted to think it over. If Mark Andrews was not on the Ravens, where would Likely go this season? Where would he get drafted?
I think he would probably be in like the Evan Ingram range, I would imagine.
Okay. I said a little bit lower, closer to Dallas Goedert and Joku. But, I mean, either way, the point is he'd be a stud.
Yeah, exactly. He would be a top 10 tight end, and that's valuable when you're deploying this strategy. It's less valuable when you're taking a stud tight end early and you're pairing him as your number 2 tight end.
I think I really messed this team up.
And that's why you should subscribe to this channel.
Yeah, like, I don't know. I probably lost $25 right now, so you guys can learn from these mistakes. Like, I'm still okay punting quarterback, but I don't know. This room was really weird with quarterback. So
go to your roster construction really quickly. How many do you have at each position?
2, 6, 7, 1, 2 picks left.
So we're going 2 tight ends basically, right?
Yeah, like if I had realized that, I might have just skipped Khalil. Do you think I could have skipped Khalil anyway?
I probably would have, because go to your running backs really quickly. Yeah, Cook, Warren, Mostert, Robinson. But yeah, like those are 5 running backs. I think you have to take a risk somewhere on this team, and I would be okay with just rolling with 5, all guys that are likely playing in some sort of timeshare at least to start the season. You should have 5 guys at all points. I probably would have taken the risk and gone 3 tight end, 3 quarterback, but that's a construction that we don't really try to target. But this I think the way this draft played out, that would have been the move.
Yeah, I think I would have preferred that, because now, do I just roll with this quarterback group and hope Aaron Rodgers stays healthy? I feel like a 3rd tight end might benefit more than Justin Fields.
I agree. I totally agree.
Yeah. So, who have you been taking in this range, or who are you looking to target in the next week?
A tight end?
Yeah.
Let me see here. So, can you just pull up the tight end on the tab? I get him a few seconds behind you, but Juwan Johnson. We don't know his injury, but if he's back midway, you got a potential top 12 tight end. Certainly Greg Dulcich. I mean, those are 2 guys I would take in this range. They fit the high upside, unknown beginning of the season quantity that pairs well with K. Dotton.
Dude, I don't remember the last time I got sniped this many times in a draft. Juwan Johnson was going to be my auto pick right there.
That is pretty frustrating.
Yeah, I got
Theo Johnson's a new guy because he's getting first team reps, athletic freak. So I'm gonna start mixing in Theo Johnson as the rookie tight end for the Giants in my round 17, 18.
Nice, I like that. take a shot on Theo. I mean, K Dotton is going to get us 5.5 tight end points at least every week. So we have that
It's true.
for it.
That's true. Yeah, exactly.
I was interested in Jelani Woods before, but I saw something like he's a tight end 4.
Yeah, dude, I saw that too, and that's disappointing because like it's not a very solid guys above him, but we talk about his athletic ability. He should be at least earning some first team snaps, but he did miss all last year with double hamstring injury. So
Yeah, I mean, when I was taking him before, it's just like, well, this guy can run in a straight line that way and catch a long touchdown. That's
right,
it.
right, like um, see, I mean, Dulcich would be the auto pick here for me, but
Dulcich.
yeah.
Is he here? No, he got taken.
Oh, there you go. Fits the theme of the show.
I got scared off Gusky. Jatavion Sanders, I used to take. I do not take him anymore. Might shoot for Ertz.
I don't mind. I mean, I've seen Hayden Hurst, and Will Dissly getting first team reps over Donald Parham, so those guys are interesting as well, I guess.
Who's that guy on the Rams? I think you mentioned the guy on the Rams before too.
Yeah, I'm curious to see how that shakes out, whether it's Davis Allen or it's Colby Parkinson. I still don't know the answers, though.
Yeah, we can probably just start drafting those guys later, though.
Yeah, exactly. They're not being drafted right now, so
this might be. I've drafted some gross teams. This might be one of the worst teams I've ever drafted on the stream.
we're gonna clip that when this team makes the finals.
Oh, it's for sure making the finals. Yeah, Khalil Herbert's going to be the key in Week 16 too.
Yes, he will. Exactly.
So, is there anything else from maybe these late round guys, or anything else you want to mention before we get out of here?
No, just if you're still watching, make sure you subscribe to the channel. We're trying to get to 500. We will be doing a giveaway for those who are subscribed and have commented on any of our best ball videos in August. So make sure you do that. This is our secondary channel that we just started this week. To get all best ball content, our DFS content is over on the primary channel at Occupy Fantasy. And all the tools we've discussed, occupyfantasy.com is where you can find those as well. And Chuck, maybe some people still haven't signed up. So promo code Occupy2, get a 250 deposit match bonus on Underdog Fantasy where we've been drafting. So we'd love to have you if you haven't joined already.
Yeah, and it's a good time too. We've been talking about these draft rooms are wild, so get drafting. We'll let you guys know what time we're live tomorrow. And thanks for joining the new channel. We'll see you guys next time.